Welcome to the What's Our Verdict podcast, where we fashion ourselves television judge and jury. My name is JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-hosts Mattson
Better read than dead.
And Alec Burgess.
Let's get it.
As always, we appreciate you tuning in, watching us, checking us out live or later on after the fact. But go ahead and hit that follow, subscribe, like, bell notification, all that stuff. But please subscribe. Our subscriber list is climbing, so we appreciate that. So if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, or if you're on listening on like Spotify, do that there too. So as always, we appreciate that. But yeah, we're talking about Westworld today, season 4, episode 6. It was a bit of more of a slow burn episode, but there was a lot to it. I will say this, I'll get started because normally I make you guys start, but I was a little, I don't want to say I was disappointed because I'm never, I don't think I've ever been disappointed in an episode of Westworld, but I was underwhelmed, I guess. It was a pretty straightforward episode, and slightly predictable for Westworld. Like, I was not surprised by any of the things that happened.
The multiple, what's Aaron Paul's actual character's name?
Yeah, Caleb.
Yeah, Caleb. I wasn't surprised at all. Like, he knew they already talked to someone. I was like, oh, it'd be efficient to do many at once. And then the handprint, you knew as he's going through it, it's a world that we're controlled by machines. Like, they're not dumb. They clearly they know what's going on. I knew as I was going, it's like they're just letting him get to see if he gets somewhere that hasn't gotten before. So like that revealed it. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah. And even
I was kind of annoyed he didn't change. Like, you have to think he knows, right?
Yeah, when he looked at his hand, so. Like the fingerprints
like
and everything.
He knows that he's following a path that other of him have followed. Like, he should know that they know where he's going. I'm surprised he didn't change and go somewhere else.
Yeah. Like, I was waiting for him to, like, full-on escape or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it was... Now, I will say that I liked the message that he sent. Like, I thought that was really cool.
Sure.
What I didn't love, and again, one of these predictable things, is that she didn't get to listen to the whole message. So now she's stuck in this mindset along with Maeve where they think that Caleb's actually alive. But it's like, come on, it just felt lazy to me. That part especially felt pretty lazy writing for me. I was like, come on, there's a better reason to have to go in and fight than have to try to save Caleb. That's going to obviously he's a machine. And then on top of that, I'm assuming that this newest version is going to be built somehow like the Man in Black or something like that, where there's certain aspects of his personality that aren't the full upload. Because when I think of the title of it was, now my brain just stopped, but it's they're testing for
fidelity.
It was fidelity. So my assumption is that they're gonna crash his fidelity and just make it so that it's obviously not him completely.
When she said that she's gonna send a surprise to her, is that her saying she's gonna send him and just screw with her?
That was Jay.
Oh, okay. That's what I was. Yeah, fair. Okay.
Yeah, and that was another one that, like, the opening scene, I was like, oh, okay, well, I know who the mole is, because they led with the whole family thing, and I'm not your brother, and
like, that whole thing. I was like, oh,
yeah, he's the only Asian dude in your crew. Like, come on, man. Yeah, like it was not hard to figure out, and I think I was just shocked, and it's really nitpicky, I think, because of how twisty and secretive the writing can be in this show, that it really is jarring for me anyway when an episode is as straightforward as this one was. Now, that's not to say it didn't have its merits, right? Like, watching Hale like continue to dive into the psychosis of this machine that she is, and she's crazy. She's picking herself to a stream of blood now. It's not even like she's just kind of bloody, but like you can tell, like, she is off her nut. So
when she picks up Caleb at the end after he transmits, and then he basically says to her, like, your whole creation hates you. Like, no one likes you, God, which, I mean, you think about that juxtaposition. I'm a religious person, and think about that, like, that hits home because and whatever you believe in or not, you create something. If your creations start to turn on you, you got to feel like personally, it's just going to hurt. And he went for the jugular right there, and she returned the favor and literally went for his jugular and killed him. Killed it, or whatever you want to call it. But you can tell it's personal to her. It's so interesting that because she's a host, but they are built in the nature of humans, that they have those emotions and do irrational things. Like, she's clearly peeved, like very not happy.
Yeah.
Wanted to ask both of you, especially you, JJ, but especially you, Alex, since you just recently binged everything. Why? Maybe I just missed this, or she explained it, I just can't remember. Why did she decide to keep her original skin? Because she could have just had a new body without her deformed arm and everything. I'm assuming it's a token of remembrance of some sort, but wanted to get if you guys had any thoughts on that.
Go ahead, Alec.
Oh, me first? Okay.
Sure.
What I kind of gathered from it was she got attached. She went deep in cover as Charlotte Hale. So she got attached to like Hale's son. And at the end of season 3, right? 2, 3. 3 is when she kind of gets blown to pieces. So I think it's the deep cover thing where Hale is the skin she was wearing when she separated from Dolores and kind of went against her programming. So that's her kind of identity that she has, the only kind of identity that she has. That's why I took it.
I think it's a remembrance thing for her too. Like, I think it's one of those things where, because that's the moment when she, in season 3, she trusted Dolores, the Dolores up until that moment when she realized she was expendable because they blew her up and killed Hale's son and everything else. So in that moment, I think that's her way, because she obviously got rid of some of it, because at the end of season 3, she was super burned. Like,
well, you got to be presentable to the public, JJ.
Sure. So I think that section of the arm, I'm sure she kept it in order to say, hey, this is a reminder of the fact that I don't trust anyone. And
that was also the arm she was picking at throughout the entire season. It was always the left arm.
So it may be something to hide too, because that's where she was always picking it too.
I feel like it reminds her of her human tendencies as well, which she's being honest with herself, can't fully give up to an extent, I think.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, she was very interesting, and again, the actress is just, she's killing it.
Dude, Tessa Thompson.
Yeah,
I had this thought. I would have liked Reva from the Kenobi series so much better if Tessa Thompson was Reva.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was terrifying, or, as unhinged and like when she's interrogating Caleb. I can see that she's got some stuff going on in the background, and she's upset because she cannot figure out why Caleb is resistant to this parasite.
Mm-hmm.
And it bugs her because he's not cooperating. And up until this point, she's always gotten her way. He's the first one who's told her no. And she's like a spoiled child, can't get over it.
Yeah. Well, that, and like watching her like lose control of the other hosts too. Like, they're choosing to end their existence, and because of a connection to a human that comes out of this trance or whatever it is. Like, this whole, I have this perfect world and you should want to live here, but then all of a sudden they don't. Like, it's really intriguing to watch her just go, what, and try to make sense of it all, right? Like, she's having that perpetual argument with Javier where there's no sense to it, no rhyme or reason to what is being pointed out to her, but it's still, she can't argue against it either, because there's no,
it's not me, it's you.
It's you. Exactly. Exactly. So
I'm not the problem here.
Yeah. So it's very interesting to watch that struggle with her, and then that she thinks that there's some explanation from Caleb that's going to fix it, right? Like, she doesn't understand that it was the only reason he was able to fight against it at all was because of his daughter. And then the funny part is she had something similar with Hale's kid. in the beginning. So she's already seen and sort of lived the thing that Caleb would tell her if he actually told her what kept him from being able to overcome it. But what do you guys think about the new Caleb? Do you think she's just continuing the test to see where it goes from there? I mean, she purged all the old ones that led him to that moment to send the message, or do you think this is a new Caleb that's going to be problematic in the future?
Well, based off of the promo, she's saying like this is the last day or something. She's got to have something up her sleeve that he's meant to accomplish for her, is the way I see it. If she's putting sort of an ultimatum on the world as known, presently constituted.
It's fair. I'm very curious about Caleb, and it feels like a reason to keep Aaron Paul on. Now, that was the first 2 episodes, and then it was like, okay, I get why he's here now, but now I'm back to like, is there just another reason because Aaron Paul signed on as a
I feel
regular?
like the way he gave that transmission, and if she had heard the whole message, I think it would have been a good signing off to say like, because she said like, I wanted to see what you do finally, and she was disappointed in what he did, because humans do that. They want to instill hope. They want to continue to fight. And I would have been fine with him if that being kind of it. Like, I don't know unless he's going to turn into basically a Bernard and somehow revert his programming and fight against her. But she's got a pretty good lock and key on him. And I just don't really foresee how that happens to an extent. And I think at some point, maybe they just need to roll off of him to an extent.
Yeah.
I don't know, because he's still kind of the middle ground, I guess, where everybody has a connection to Caleb, even if they don't have a connection really with each other. I mean, and then
it's true.
What I saw is him being the focal point. So, I mean, I would have been fine if they just killed him off too. That's more screen time for Stubbs. And that's all I'm after.
Shit.
But I also get like he's kind of this centerpiece that everything's moving around, and we still have the fact that he's busted out of programming before.
Yeah.
And I guess the Solomon thing from season 3. So
it's been kind of exhausted, and I wanted, to JJ's point in this episode, like, while I didn't mind what we saw, like, man, I would have loved to see more Man in Black or seen more progression in Bernard and Stubbs and Maeve, and I think I'm just getting a little bit of fatigue there.
I think for me it was like, and I was okay with the whole episode until he came back the last time and they set him up in that situation. Because for me, I was like, what a perfect ending to Caleb's character, right? So she realizes she's not going to get what she wants. She has no use for him anymore. And she completely torches all of the versions, gets rid of him, seals up the little vent thing. Like, there's no more purpose behind it. And then to your point, Alec, yes, he's that central figure that ties everybody together. But to me, like, his actual death or trying to figure out, they get this message and now she knows she's going to win. Like, it could have been the catalyst that brings Maeve to see and brings them together and then gets her to believe in Bernard and Stubbs, even though. So, I mean, I think there was a lot they could have done. For me, it was just, I hope they don't ruin Caleb's character by continuing on instead of because to me, when they started burning everything, I was like, sweet, what a great way to end it. And then I was like, son of a bitch, I hope they don't ruin that. It's like, because now you might have pushed it too far, right?
Because I'm just worried about him meeting C, and he's not really him to an extent. And like, what do you do with that? Because he technically could live forever.
Emotional damage is what you do with that.
I don't know. I just don't really want to see that personally.
I don't want to see it in the show, but now I want to see Alec make a TikTok of the two seeing each other and the dude going emotional damage.
Uncle Roger.
What a great freaking moment that would. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Like, I don't know, but I mean, obviously, I'm looking forward to Maeve and Hale facing.
Oh,
because that's in the promo. Like, I was like, here we go.
Oh, is that was? I was confused. I paused and it's so that she's pushing Maeve. It's not Hale because. I didn't look long enough because it looked like Hale v. Hale, and I was super confused. But it's Maeve then. Okay.
Yeah, it was Maeve.
Okay.
And I was kind of surprised that Maeve would be there in the next episode, but because we only got 2 left, it makes me sad.
They got to start wrapping up.
2 damn years. Yeah, so we're definitely set up for the last 2 episodes to jump into, but
sure,
man. Now, another great Stubbs moment. It feels like just Stubbs has these little moments, just one moment in each episode.
And they're all gold.
Yeah, like when friggin' Bernard was like, sometimes it's Stubbs, and he's like, whoa.
Well, he said one time it was Stubbs, I thought, and he was like, whoa.
It was just his face, like, you son of a...
You're just going to sell me out every chance you get.
To that point, though, JJ, as Alec and I kind of talked about, it clearly Bernard didn't say who he was. Because she kept kind of prying, and, he was giving as truthfully vague answers as possible, saying he, what he said, wrote the host, I was part of the park, but he never came right out and said it until she obviously inferred.
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty easy. He's running statistics like a
Yeah.
calculator.
Yeah.
60% chance. Yeah. I thought he was about to say 60% chance it works every time. That's exactly
Just so you know, I was like, oh God, what a reference. 60% of the time it works every time.
I know.
So stupid. Yeah, I was like, oh goodness. Yeah, so that whole thing, I don't know. I felt like it would have been cooler if we didn't have that opening scene and there was like, oh God, I don't know who it is, right?
Yeah.
Because that would have been cool. And you could have put that scene in there somewhere. I just need it to not be at the beginning so that I automatically don't go, oh, well, okay. Somebody's going to betray him. And she planted I was like, oh, okay, I know exactly who that is. And you got Mr. Wu in there. He's not getting cast for some shit part. This is a dude that's going to be cast so that he can be a guy that betrays you. So it was intriguing.
Explain to me the part that Caleb wakes up in the hospital bed, and I was trying to figure out where that timeline pieced in, or was he just making that up in his head?
That was after he gets blown up at the lighthouse.
Yeah,
and Maeve saves him.
So he was having
his wife. It's like a little memory.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. So just was still back at that. I was getting confused.
Dude, yeah, he was still having those memories.
His pudding cup.
Yeah, dude, that's some bullshit.
Yeah,
I was like, wow. I was like, I'm an injured man. Why would you eat my pudding? Like, come on now.
Long shift.
Low.
Yeah, that's cold-hearted right there. I think that's the one thing that did get me throughout the episode is obviously there's Caleb's different. Even as a host, the dude's different. But I was also glad because I was wondering last episode if they'd figured the fidelity thing out and maybe Caleb was Caleb and they'd figured, but obviously they haven't, at least not with Caleb. And except with Man in Black where you remove some pieces. And now, so my question is becoming, because we see in the promo that there's going to be more, we're getting back to Man in Black with Man in Black. And so that's my next question for you guys, that at least for me to wrap it up, the last one I had is, are we going to see, because the pieces that Hale removed from the Man in Black and just leaned into his vindictive, nasty side, are we going to see the true way to get a level of fidelity is to just put in the baseline pieces without personality or without certain, not the whole person, right? That obviously causes problems adapting to being a machine or to a host. Do we see Man in Black talking his host self off a cliff and then gather some semblance of fidelity? Obviously, you can't have perfect fidelity because it's not a direct copy, but he could instill some knowledge that might put him on a path where he becomes more and more like the real Man in Black. That's my next wonderance is, you may not be able to have a perfect copy with fidelity, but can you get a copy that functions and then teach it a level of fidelity?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if also because he's kind of hooked up, right? If they were able to kind of do a workaround that way, because he's not dead, at least as far as we know. He's in this kind of cryo sleep.
Sure.
Type thing. So maybe it's once he's where if you're not actually dead, it's easier for a transplant process.
Could be.
I just wanted
That'd
to
be
go,
cool.
I just wanted to go helter skelter against Hale, and then Hale's got Man in Black. Hale's got Maeve. She's dealing with the rebel people. And I don't know what this ultimatum is on the last day, but I'm sure it looked like there was a ton of fighting. I don't know if it's just her turning the people against the few rebel people, or if they all start freaking out. It makes you wonder: is her creation going to crumble before her eyes?
My guess is she's got some sort of kill switch, because I could see her just wiping
Starting
all the
anew.
adults. Yep, and starting fresh. You wipe the adults, you start fresh, and then yeah, there you go. So I'm wondering if that's the ultimatum of, hey, do this or figure it out or help me, or we're just gonna start over again. But I don't think things end well for Haloris by the end of this season. Like, I just feel like she's walked herself into a corner, and she's got Maeve, Bernard, Dolores, probably Caleb at some point, plus all the actual humans that aren't infected coming after her. I don't know that you can figure it all out, especially since technically Dolores can overwrite your storyline.
Humans, yeah.
Just write a storyline where they all attack Hale, and that's the end of that deal.
That would be terrifying.
Yeah.
I hope it ends like that.
That'd be dope. Watch me right here. She just pushes the button. New storyline. Everybody hates Hale. Go. All right. Any final thoughts, last questions before we wrap this episode up?
I'm wondering, have we entertained the thought that the city that they're in is just a park like Westworld?
You know, I have, especially after this episode where Bernard was talking about Hale would have had a test, like I'm wondering if this is still like just a small test version to see how. So she's been going since they infected a certain amount of humans, because we just don't know the scale of the world out there, right? Like, what else is out there? Is this just a small city type thing? So I think there's a lot of questions, and I did have a thought like that, like, okay, maybe this is still a test run, so to speak, on how this would work.
Well, if she didn't have everyone, though, then why would the humans that come out of it, why wouldn't they just go where she's not?
It's a good question.
Well, I was just thinking, because a lot of Hale's behavior in this season mimics Ford's behavior from the first season, Anthony Hopkins. Even down to the point where she's eating lunch with Dolores is very reminiscent of a similar scene where Ford sits down with the Man in Black and Teddy.
Yeah. Or even the board member.
The board member.
On the Mesa.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So I was just wondering if maybe this is smaller than we think it is.
Could be.
And it's just an individual park. And maybe there's parks that are all around. You know, Westworld, there was Shogun World and all that other stuff that was happening. That was just a thought I had.
Yeah, the only thing that makes me lean the other direction on that is that we saw that the Outliers base is technically in the old 1920s park that is obviously run down because they don't need it anymore to infect people. But that bears the bigger question for me of, is the world down to one damn city? You know what I mean? Is Manhattan it? You know what I mean? Which isn't entirely impossible, because we know there was at least one war, and I would imagine that there's been others. And then how many of the infected humans, off themselves after they broke free of it all to realize what's been going on. So I think there's a lot of questions about the bigger world at hand that we don't know. And I don't know that we'll ever know until probably the end of it, and maybe not even then. So it's a good question, though. All right. Well, that's Westworld Season 4, Episode 6. Not a ton to talk about. It's a pretty straightforward episode, but I'm really excited for 7 and 8. I wish they were like both movie length, because I just don't want to wait another 2 years for more Westworld. It just makes me sad. It's so long. But it's great when it comes. I'm kind of glad they take their time too, because sometimes I think the ones that come out every year just don't have the time to really think things through, and sometimes they rush things through. So there that is. But
2 years is too long, because now they have too much time to think things through.
Yeah.
Year and a
I
half.
have too much time to forget, and then I'm like, son of a bitch, I got to go back and rewatch.
Yeah, with this show, way too much time to forget.
Yeah. And there's so much to forget that it's so easy to just fall off. But
Yep.
All right. Well, we got a lot of stuff coming up. Mattson, why don't you tell everybody what we have coming and where they can find us?
Shoot, what we have coming, man. There's a lot. I mean, we've got TV show wise. I know off the top of my head, what I can think about is we've got not Miss Marvel. We just finished Miss Marvel. We've got She-Hulk. I know we're doing the Bullet Train, which is one of our only standalone movies we're all excited about. We've got the Lord of the Rings TV show. What's it called? The name is
Power.
Rings of Power. We're trying to determine if we're going to do House of Dragon or not. I think we probably will because it's popular enough. But, I mean, hey, you guys tell us what you're most interested in. If there's a TV show out there that it's not on our radar that needs to be, let us know. And then there's the new Star Wars show that's coming out as well. So a lot of those. I mean, TV's kind of king right now. There isn't, movie-wise, something that really isn't coming out till later in the fall that seems to be terribly exciting, if you ask me or any of us, per se. Check us out on TikTok. You can see me get roasted. I definitely will have a few this week based off a recording of one of the worst movies I've ever seen, being Little Shop of Horrors. Come check us out there, and then check us out at whatsourverdict.com to kind of see some of the upcoming slate, just in case you forget, and check us out on social media as well. But we are excited, lots to listen to. Hit that follow, like, or subscribe button, and we appreciate y'all listening.
Yep, there it is. Yeah, thanks to Undiscovered Bass. I did check out her channel, her TikTok channel. She does some music stuff, so I'm assuming it's Undiscovered Bass. So anyway, but we appreciate her. Alec and I appreciate her recommendation.
I don't.
Well, Mattson, you can go take a hike.
Made for a funny episode, though, which is available right now wherever you listen to good podcasts. So go take a peek. You can also check it out on YouTube. So go check that out if you want to watch me almost die laughing at these two going at it. So with that, as always, we appreciate you tuning in. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Cinemagic out.
Whoa!